So all indicators are on the fact that if we don't change our ways, then we will we will be facing an irreversible process.
J'ai un téléphone fair trade, c'est-à-dire que je peux échanger les composantes quand je veux, je peux les réparer, et donc ça m'évite d'acheter un téléphone tous les ans.
I think that everybody who is interested, they are aware of the complexity of the problem.
I take the train as much as possible to avoid the airplane.
But I do think that sometimes we do resort to simplified measures and simplified ideas in which you are either with us or against us.
My mom met my stepfather. From the time that we met him, a few months later, we started going on trips like all the time.
During the past few years, I've traveled by flight more than twice a year.
So I started to get a really intense liking for traveling.
Donc trois fois par an l'avion si on compte une fois comme un aller-retour.
D'accord.
Donc 6 fois par 6 fois par an.
I mean, compared to that, all my other actions that are bad for the climate are so small.
I cannot stop using plastic cup.
J'aime vraiment beaucoup voyager.
I'm pretty much always cold, and in the winter I love to turn on the fireplace. I know it leads out all these particles that are very bad for the atmosphere, but in the moment I just think about how it's cozy to be inside with my family, sitting with a hot chocolate and being by the fireplace.
There are a lot of things that I haven't changed. I'm, for instance, still a meat eater, although I do know that meat and the meat consumption is a sustainable problem.
Actually, my first trip was a surprise because my stepfather drove us to the airport.
Et pour les dernières années, c'était le souhait avec mon père. Il était en train de tourner des films dans des pays étrangers.
I'm a fan of milk bubble tea.
It's just like safe and comfortable and super hygge.
The feeling of going into the air, I've always dreamt of flying since I was little, but that's not the real reason I do it, because I'd gladly give that up.
I thought that my mom was going on a trip.
Oh.
And yeah, I thought that she was going on a trip and that I was gonna go back and stay with my grandma. And then we get out the car and they're like, "Oh, we're going to Disney World." And I'm like, ah.
Des fois j'étais juste content, des fois j'étais juste en mode mais.
Sometimes overwhelmed.
Oh my god, like I started losing it, you know? I was like freaking, I don't know, 150 centimeters or something, just jumping all over the place.
C'est pas vraiment quelque chose que je recherchais absolument à bouger pour une semaine pour voir mon père dans un pays, et au final le pays je le connais pas vraiment parce que j'ai pas vraiment pris le temps de visiter, j'étais plus avec mon père ou juste en train de le regarder travailler en attendant de pouvoir aller manger le soir.
I'm really hungry for that. I really want to have the milk bubble tea immediately, but I always forgot to bring my own glass cup. It would be better for environment, but you know, because plastic cup is very convenient for me.
I think from that point, I started really liking like hotels and stuff and spending a lot of money. I felt like I was worth something, you know, because I could afford to do all this stuff.
And the sense of like, I felt so excited when I landed, and And I feel so brave because I had really been afraid of this for a long time, traveling on my own.
Oh, okay.
And then I started having these experiences, and I would tell them about it, and they'd be like, wow, you know, that's so cool that you get to go all these places.
And I think it's so important that we learn about each other's cultures and that we see different countries in order to understand each other.
Actually, that type tea shop is also the quite popular destinations for me and for my friends together, and to have a talk together.
I think that's just a feeling, like knowing that I'm so lucky to be able to get on a plane when most people in the world cannot do that. Makes me feel good. In the US, like, most people don't travel, and I kind of pride myself on being one of the Americans who's like worldly or whatever, you know? It's partially feeling good that I'm lucky enough to do this, and also partially a motivation to like want to break the stereotype of the ignorant American, you know?
Because if we can understand each other, we'll be less likely to go against each other or declare war or anything. So if I have a friend in China, then I'll be more concerned about China. I'll know, oh, there's a nice person too.
And also it kind of is satisfying a little bit when I come and I speak to European people and they're like, oh, I thought you were gonna be like a stupid American, you know?
But also because I have family that, for example, lives in England, and it's simply just the easiest and cheapest way to visit them. If I couldn't see them, that would just be such a shame. Something that also worries me about flying is that I'd really love to have a job in international affairs.
I would like to do more, I think. I'm also very hesitant on subscribing to a singular understanding of what a sustainable world implies.
Being in a country like Denmark where it's cold takes a lot of energy.
I want to be able to go wherever I want to go, you know, but on the other hand, I do understand that some of the things that I might want to do have negative effects. So I think part of getting older is just understanding that you can't have everything you want, you know?
I mean, yeah, I could definitely go explore. I love exploring Denmark as well. And Europe, I could easily rent a car and go drive around with some friends or get the bus to England, or a train. But meeting the different cultures, that would be so hard if I couldn't fly.
For now, I'm probably a little bit stuck with using less efficient ways of traveling, but I would like that when I get older and when I get more settled, I could probably dedicate a part of my life to helping with issues like that.
But I'm not willing to let go of everything. I'm not willing to let go of the other struggles, the other power struggles that are going on right now. I think they are as important, if not at least for me as an individual right here and now, more important.
I live in a house that's like 100 years old, so so if I lived in a better isolated house, that would definitely be better for the environment.
When the UN proposed their Sustainable Development Goals, they were also talking about how we need to recognize that we are sharing the same fate, that we are in it together. And it goes for all conditions in life. It's also the unsustainable economic system we created. It's the unsustainable consumption we created. It's the unsustainable approach to indigenous peoples and minorities and all these things. These are also a part of the Sustainable Development Goals.
Like, I would like to be able to do that, but in a way that's not wasteful, because I know that my tendency is to be wasteful, so I really have to kind of curb those habits of mine, you know. And also, since I live in such a big country, I think that the US would be a great place to start without having to do anything particularly big, you know. Like, I could just reach out to my community or the people in my state, or even we have millions of people in New York City alone, you know. I could reach out to them.
Of course, we should live in houses that are better isolated, and maybe you can put like this particle filter in your fireplace.
I'll be easy to convince, and I'll probably also at some point, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not the day after tomorrow, I'll probably also at some point change a lot of things, maybe even including not eating meat anymore. So for me, I don't have anything to lose. The only thing I have to lose is sort of my pride, if that's the thing.
Je vais sûrement être plus responsable par rapport à comment je voyage. Je vais sûrement choisir plus de choses, vu que je suis maintenant un adulte, j'ai 18 ans, voilà. Le seul truc qui pourrait être un petit peu embêtant, c'est le voyage, mais ça coûte un petit peu aussi d'argent, donc ça risque de me calmer, le côté budgétaire. Ouais, ou sinon je vais essayer de voyager, mais par d'autres moyens. Peut-être par covoiturage, ou essayer de faire un truc en vélo aussi, ce serait bien ça. Un petit défi pour moi-même.
And I also give my father a present of a foldable cup.
And it's made by metal.
Yeah.
Very interesting, because I have just seen the cup can fold, but by plastic only, not in the metal. So, what to do about that?
In a very simplified fashion, I do think that we have to make some radical choices. But I also think that radicalism in all its forms drives people away. And I don't think that right now we can afford to drive people away.
I don't know, I have to come up with something. Wait, hold on. I don't know how to say it in English, but I don't know how to say it in any language.
Love.